we're delighted to have you join us today for our YouTube chat. Can you let everybody at home know what your background is that gave you the ability to come and work with us?
First of all, thank you for having me. I was very honored that you asked. So I'm a neonatal intensive care unit nurse. So you'll hear that called a NICU nurse. I've been there for a year and a bit now. And my experience there, although I work with premature babies and it can be as intense as the title says, I do also work with some term babies, which has led me to apply to work for the new mommy company. I felt my skills could overlap really well, and I find they still do. I love that there's similarities, even though the environment is completely different. It's less intense, but still challenging, because those babies, even though something works one day, the next day they're suddenly like, oh no, I'm a new baby now. You have to learn new tricks. And so it's challenging in that sense, but very nice and rewarding when you do find that new thing that they like, even though it's sometimes it's literally just a slight, like, you're bouncing them on your hip, but maybe the next day it's like you're going a little too fast and they don't like it anymore. So you just have to slow it down a bit, and then they love it. It's very rewarding. I enjoy it.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad to hear that you're enjoying it. When it comes to working with clients and with families, what is it that you look for in a position? Is there something in particular that sort of, clutches on your heartstrings, or is it more about why the mom needs help or the baby? What is it that generally you're looking for?
I think it's a mix of everything. So generally when families come to us, it's because they're looking for some sort of help. And that usually always tugs on my heartstrings. Like, I'm happy to know that I can be there for a family when in their time of need. So I enjoy that aspect. But also, since families have the chance to interview us beforehand, I always like to make sure that we connect very well. You kind of make sure you're on the same page. So a very interesting time right now has been COVID and how that has affected our whole lives. Like, it's the new normal now, and it might be for a little while. So some things I like to make sure we're on the same page about is restrictions and how to keep each other safe. So I always wear a mask with families, and I just let them know. I always wash my hands as soon as I get inside the door. I'm more cautious and aware of what I'm doing now, and I'm upfront with families about that. It's like how I'll protect them, and then I also ask them how they'll be protecting me at the same time.
Yes, COVID has really given us a lot of challenges this year, but I feel like with the team's support, the protocols that we've put in place, and of course the family's interest in wanting to keep everybody safe, that somehow we've managed to navigate it and get through it. And while we're not at the very end of it just yet, there is definitely some light at the end of the tunnel, which I know is a very big bonus for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you enjoy most in your position, Chante? Where does the job satisfaction come from?
Oh, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but it's almost like finding new things about the baby that you're working with. You're getting to know this little boy or girl, and it's really nice and satisfying when sometimes, like, they're very fussy and you're like, and you can put them down to sleep, but you also have to remember it's okay if you can't. Sometimes you just can't, and that's okay. You don't have to take it personally. And even sometimes the parents are like, it's okay, don't take it personally. It happens with everybody. I also alluded to the fact that I'm able to be with the families in sometimes very vulnerable moments. So I'm happy I can be some sort of form of support for them, just even a resource of knowledge for them. I like to use what I've learned from my nursing background in taking care of these babies. So it helps give parents a little reassurance that, well, of course, that I know what I'm doing, but that if they have any questions, they can always just ask me. And if they don't know, I will find out right away for them.
What does a typical night look like for you when you're working with our clients? I know every client will be different, but do you find that you develop a pattern or rhythm? Because obviously the duties are pretty similar from one family to the next.
So like you mentioned, it depends on how we're feeding, how many babies there are, but generally there is a pattern. It's at that point they're starting, usually parents have their they have started their nighttime routine. So I will kind of take over. Either at that time I get there, we're ending a feed. So I'll take over, try and put them to bed. That's the part where sometimes it goes very smoothly or sometimes it's a little rocky, but eventually we get to bed. So then the next feed, I will either take over and bottle, allow parents to get that extra sleep, or I will wake up the parents and they will breastfeed. Again, I'll take over, put baby to sleep, and then we just repeat it for as long as I'm there throughout the night. But it's generally wake up, change diaper, eat, go back to bed. And then in between while he's sleeping, I go and I'll wash bottles and kind of just make sure the area is clean. And yeah.
And like you mentioned already, you're sort of taking care of the little things too, such as refilling the humidifier, getting the pump ready for the next pumping session, all of those little things, I can see how they would mean so much to a new parent, because it's invaluable. That those little things, it means one less trip downstairs or one less trip upstairs. And it's also saying, I've thought about you and I'm thinking about what you may have to do when I'm not here. So I'm going to make life easier for you when I'm not here. So on behalf of everybody that you do that for, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
So if somebody was thinking about coming to work with us and joining the team as a night nanny, I understand that, for somebody of your caliber working in the NICU, the term night nanny almost feels like it does you a disservice in that it doesn't really elevate your status. But in terms of the job description, in terms of what you do you feel like it's a suitable position for other NICU nurses? Is it something you would encourage them to take on? And if so, why?
Oh, I would absolutely encourage them to take it on. If they believe they want another position of some sort, just because, like I mentioned, the NICU is intense. So it's very nice to have almost like a shadow of the NICU, because we do have those term babies, but you have multiple patients and it's a very different environment versus the hospital versus in someone's personal nursery. So it's almost like you have that one baby that's healthy. So like it's like a very similar routine actually in the NICU. But at least now you know that this is a term healthy baby. You're just kind of there to support their development and growth. So it's less intense than the neonatal intensive care unit. So I encourage it for that reason. It's just nice if you are looking for another form of income. It's because I'm a younger person that would like to have a home one day. So I think it's a great form of income. And it's just really nice to work with these families because they're very enjoyable. So many of our skills are transferable to this role as well. It's almost like you haven't really left your role. It's just the environment's different.
Right.
And you can, yeah, the environment's different and it's very nice.
What do you feel like you have learned in this position that maybe wasn't something that was very apparent to you in the hospital, or maybe things you weren't aware of? Because obviously you're seeing babies, you know, at that later stage, and obviously with continuity, and you stay with clients for a period of time, you
Mhm,
see those babies grow and develop. So there's all those challenges that change as they get older. But
mhm.
is there one particular thing you feel that you've learned since you've started this position?
Ooh, there's a couple things, but I'll try and pinpoint at one, or at least
Well,
a
you
couple.
don't have to limit it to one. If there's others, then by all means, we would love to hear.
Oh, I just feel so breastfeeding. I feel like I never, because a lot of when we have premature infants, they're obviously not breastfeeding. So when we do get those term infants, it's always nice and refreshing to see breastfeeding going on, but you do it a lot more with your families. So just some of the difficulties that can be, some of the difficulties around breastfeeding that I have now seen, I can translate it back to the hospital. Just, I know like everyone has a difficult time with breastfeeding. Everyone's different. Every baby is different. And I took that with me, knowing that it's okay. It will come eventually. You just have to be patient. What else did I learn? Oh, developmentally, just more activities that I can do with our babies. Um, Tummy time. It looks a
Yeah.
little like it looks a little silly when I'm in between, because it's not very. It looks little silly when I'm doing tummy time with the baby in the hospital, but I'm like, this is important for them, and I know it's very go go go, but sometimes you gotta pause, take those moments to help them develop. It's I've learned a lot. There probably is a lot more that I've learned, but I have been using it.
Wonderful. Well, I'm really glad that, you know, some of the things that you've been learning as a nurse that you've been able to bring into our clients' homes, but equally that there are things in our clients' homes that
Mhm.
you can then bring back into the NICU. And that's obviously a silver lining and an extra bonus that everybody gets to benefit from.
Yes.
When you describe your position to your colleagues or to friends,
Mhm.
is it something that they readily understand? Is it something that they sort of look at you and sort of say, huh, how does that work?
Mhm.
How would you describe the position to friends or colleagues?
I've had a mix of both. So I usually just say night nanny because it makes sense when you say it, but they do ask for clarification, like, oh, like, what do you do?
Mhm.
So I kind of explain like the help get babies to sleep, feed, repeat the cycle in a sense. Obviously, there's more to it, but just a general sense of, and then they can kind of infer the rest.
Is
Mhm,
there anything that surprised you
mhm.
in working in clients' homes? Was there something that was oh, I didn't realize? Has that happened to you yet?
Um, Kind of not in a bad way, just more so. Oh, like my sometimes like the client that I work with, they're very very helpful. Like they do have support during the day, like family support, but like every time I come in there, they're they're so nice. They're offering me their food, but they're also like, oh, we've laid this out for you, so everything's ready. They prep the bottles for me when I need them in the middle of the night, and I just found that very nice and touching, because I was like, oh, like that's my job. But I feel like once again, it's kind of like, oh, you do this for me. Like they're shocked when I do things for them, and I'm shocked things when they do things for me. It's like it's very nice.
Oh,
So that was surprising but very welcomed. So like
Wonderful.
they also acknowledge that I am there to make their lives easier, but like they're like, oh well, if we could do this for you, why not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and of course, you know, it's a two-way street. So the more you do for somebody, the more they're going to want to do for you, and that's generally how a really nice, trusting relationship builds up, because everybody feels like you've both got each other's backs.
Yeah, it's a nice teamwork.
Yes, yes, and obviously, you know, when you're with a family in a little bit longer term, as you are right now,
Mm-hmm.
it's obviously a really nice position to be in, where you know that you're not going in to face the unknown every night, in that they do genuinely care about you being in their home, and obviously that's come from how you've made them feel.
It's really reassuring. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Chante, for joining us today. It's been
Oh no, thank
absolutely lovely
you.
to chat to you.
It was wonderful talking.
We hope you've enjoyed watching all of our videos with all of our team. And today, and for me and Chante, it's goodbye for now. Until next time.